On the morning of what was meant to be the happiest day of her life, Isabella Montgomery, a wealthy heiress known for her grace and kindness, picked up the hem of her white gown and tiptoed down the marble hallway of the Belmont estate. Her heart fluttered with excitement. Today she would marry Nathaniel Carter, the charming man she thought was her forever. But just as her hand reached for the doorknob of his dressing room, she froze. Laughter echoed from within. Curious, she leaned closer, and then her entire world shattered. "She won't last past tonight." Nathaniel chuckled into the phone. "The pill will do its job before or after the vows. Doesn't matter. Once she's gone, everything she owns becomes ours." Isabella's blood turned to ice. She stumbled back, bouquet dropping from her hands. His next words hit harder. "Hope, you've got your bridesmaid dress on, sweetheart." It was one of her bridesmaids, heart-racing makeup smudging with tears. Isabella ran not toward the altar, but toward the only two people she still trusted, her father and stepmother. But before she could reach them, her body began to collapse. Something was wrong. Something inside her was shutting down. And as she lay unconscious in her father's arms upstairs, Nathaniel was still laughing. He thought he had won, but Isabella wasn't done yet. Not even close. Isabella's world faded into darkness as her stepmother's screams echoed through the halls of the Belmont estate. Her father, William Montgomery, held her limp body close, his face pale with terror. "Call an ambulance. Now," he barked, his voice trembling. Staff members rushed to comply. Upstairs, Nathaniel stepped into the hallway with perfectly feigned panic, his voice cracking with false emotion. "Isabella, no! What happened to her?" He pushed through this crowd of guests gathering at the foot of the staircase. His tailored suit untouched, his hands theatrically reaching for his bride. "Please don't leave me," he cried out, dropping to his knees beside her. Crocodile tears spilled down his cheeks as he played the part of the devastated groom. No one suspected a thing, but deep within his pocket his phone buzzed. "Congrats. She's almost gone. We're halfway there." The message flashed across the screen. A smug smirk briefly tugged at his lips before he wiped it away. By the time the ambulance arrived, Isabella was barely breathing. The white of her gown glowed under the flashing red lights, now a symbol of heartbreak instead of joy. Nathaniel insisted on riding with her, cradling her head on his lap in the back seat. He whispered sweet lies the entire ride. "You're going to be okay, I'm right here." But inside he was already planning what he'd do with her estate. At St. Vincent's Hospital, doctors and nurses scrambled as Isabella was rushed through emergency doors. Her heart was failing. Her pulse was dangerously weak. The chief physician on call, Dr. Marcus Hale, shouted orders as machines beeped in warning. Her father clutched her hand until they forced him to step aside. "We're doing all we can," a nurse assured him. But the fear in her voice betrayed the gravity of the situation. Hours passed. Guests filled the hospital's waiting area, whispering, praying, speculating. Nathaniel sat hunched over, head in hands, rocking slowly. He looked like a man broken, except for the subtle grin he let slip every time no one was watching. Behind the scenes, he'd already texted the woman helping him. "She's as good as gone. You'll get your share soon." But inside the ICU, something unexpected happened. Isabella stirred, just barely a twitch of her fingers, a flutter beneath her closed lids. A sharp gasp from the attending nurse broke the silence. Dr. She's waking up. Chaos followed. Staff rushed to her side. But when Isabella's eyes slowly opened, her voice was weak, but clear. "Please don't tell them I'm awake." "Not yet." The nurse froze. "Promise me," Isabella pleaded, her lips cracked and pale. "I need time. I need to be smart." The nurse nodded, understanding instantly. This wasn't just about healing. This was survival. The next morning, under strict privacy, Isabella requested Dr. Hale return alone. When he arrived, she told him everything. Nathaniel and someone else, one of my bridesmaids. I heard them. They're trying to kill me for my inheritance." Dr. Hale was stunned. But after a moment of silence, he leaned in. "If you're right, there's only one way to catch them." He paused. "Are you willing to play dead?" Isabella didn't flinch. Her voice, though hoarse, was calm. "Let's give them a funeral they'll never forget." That night, the hospital was cloaked in silence. The air was cool, sterile, and heavy with uncertainty. Isabella lay still on her bed, her heart racing not from weakness now, but from determination. Across from her stood Dr. Marcus Hale, a small vial of clear liquid glinting in his hand. It was the final step. If she wanted to expose the ones who had betrayed her, she would need to become a ghost temporarily. "This compound will lower your heart rate and body temperature," Dr. Hale said, his voice low and steady. "You'll look gone, but he'll be monitoring everything. You'll be safe." Isabella nodded without hesitation. "Do it." She didn't flinch as the needle pierced her skin. A chilling sensation crept through her veins. Her vision blurred, her limbs turned to ice, and the beeping of her heart monitor slowed to a crawl. Within moments, her body mimicked death perfectly. Dr. Hale placed cool packs around her body to intensify the illusion, then made the call. "I'm sorry, Miss Isabella Montgomery has passed." Within an hour, the news spread like wildfire. Mourners flooded the Belmont estate, some with genuine tears, others with carefully rehearsed sobs. Nathaniel arrived, dressed in sharp black, his face somber, but his eyes gleaming with victory. "She's gone," he whispered to Raquel, a bridesmaid, and now confirmed his co-conspirator. They exchanged a quick, forbidden glance. The estate buzzed with whispers and wine. Sympathy was served alongside greed. All anyone seemed to care about now was the will, but Isabella had planned this too. Her will wouldn't be read until the 10th day. And in a stunning twist, she had demanded each family member visit her body alone for 10 consecutive days before the inheritance could be distributed. At first, they were confused, then annoyed. But the promise of wealth was stronger than their discomfort. They agreed. Day 1. Nathaniel entered first. His performance was flawless, kneeling beside the casket, whispering, "I'll love you forever," dabbing fake tears with a handkerchief. But then Rachel entered, and their act dropped like a curtain. Finally, Rachel giggled. "We can stop pretending now," she said, adjusting her black dress. Nathaniel reached out and squeezed her hand. 10 more days, he whispered. "Then everything she owns is ours." From beneath the silk shroud, Isabella heard every word. Rage burned in her chest, but she stayed still. "Not yet." Rachel leaned in close and whispered. Those pills worked like a charm. The air turned colder. Isabella's heart even slowed beat with fury. So it was true. Rachel had helped drug her. Her best friend and her fiancé conspiring under her roof beside her casket. They had no idea the corpse was listening. She memorized every word. As they left the room, smug and satisfied, Isabella's resolve hardened. They thought they had won. They thought she was gone. But the dead don't forget, and she was just getting started. Day 2 arrived cloaked in the same quiet solemnity, but the performance was wearing thin. Isabella remained motionless beneath the ivory silk, her breath shallow, her heart slow. The monitors were hidden, the surveillance camera discreetly placed by Dr. Hale behind the mantel. Every movement, every whisper would be recorded. Now it was time to see who else had turned against her. Her stepbrother Caleb entered the room first. He strolled in like a man arriving at a real estate auction, not a funeral. Hands in pockets, brows raised, he looked around and muttered, "Wow, so this is what dying rich looks like." Behind him followed his sister Tessa, always the one dripping in designer brands she never paid for. "She really went all out for this place," Tessa scoffed, running her manicured nails across the mahogany coffin. "It's a shame, really. All that money wasted on someone who didn't know how to have fun." Caleb chuckled. I called dibs on the sports car. That red one. The keys better be in the garage. Isabella's fingers, hidden beneath the satin, curled into fists. She had paid off Caleb's debts, helped him through rehab. She had even bought Tessa her first boutique, and now they were circling her like vultures, laughing at her generosity, eager to pick through her life. I want the lake house, Tessa said, smirking. It's perfect for my birthday parties. You know, the ones she never showed up for because she was too busy running companies. You mean building an empire? Caleb added, rolling his eyes. Who does that anymore? She should have just handed us the money. We're family. They both laughed. Family. That word struck Isabella like a slap. These weren't family. They were leeches hiding behind her last name. Every gift, every favor, every sleepless night spent helping them, it had meant nothing. She was never a sister. Only a bank account. They stood there for a few more minutes, cracking jokes, taking photos of the room, probably to start planning what furniture they'd keep. Then, as if they remembered they were supposed to be mourning Caleb, faked a sniffle and said, "Rest easy, sis." The door closed behind them. The silence that followed was heavy, not just with grief, but with revelation. Under the silk cover, Isabella wanted to cry. But not because of betrayal. She had already begun to expect that. What crushed her was how easily her love had been discarded. To them, she was never human, just a means to a lifestyle. She lay still, heart aching, mind reeling. This wasn't just about Nathaniel and Rachel anymore. It was everyone, almost everyone. Because deep inside her, though, the betrayal was piling up. She hadn't given up on one hope that someone, anyone, might have truly loved her for who she was. And tomorrow her father would visit. Would he be different? She had clung to the belief that he once loved her. That maybe, just maybe, he was the one person left who saw her as more than a walking inheritance. But Isabella was about to learn that even the people we love most can wear masks. And some masks are harder to remove than others. The heavy wooden doors creaked open for the third time that week. Day 3. The air inside the mansion was still thick with the scent of wilting lilies and candle wax. And beneath the delicate silk sheet, Isabella braced herself. Today, her father was coming. Robert entered slowly, his steps uncertain. His hand tightly gripped by his wife, Isabella's stepmother, Helen. He looked older than she remembered, his once commanding presence now weighed down by time, and something else, maybe guilt, maybe greed. He paused beside the casket, staring down at his daughter's still form. For a fleeting second, his jaw trembled. "My firstborn," he whispered, voice cracking. "My little girl." A single tear slipped down his cheek. Isabella felt her breath catch. Was this it? Was this real? Could he truly be mourning? But then Helen stepped closer, her voice low and coaxing. "I know this is hard, sweetheart, but you need to be strong." She reached up and gently patted his arm. Think of all the stress she was under. It's no one's fault. And maybe it's time to look at the silver lining. Robert turned to her, confused. "What do you mean?" She smiled softly. "The inheritance. She must have left you something right. You're her father." Isabella's stomach twisted, her fingers clenched under the sheet. Robert hesitated. I did raise her. It's only fair." Fair. That one word shattered any illusion Isabella had been clinging to. Her heart constricted, and a burning pain rippled through her chest, not from the slow heartbeat drug coursing through her veins, but from the realization the man who held her as a baby, who once taught her how to ride a bike, was no better than the rest. "You're right," he said after a long pause. "She owed me." Helen nodded. "And now we'll finally have the freedom she never gave us." Isabella felt like screaming. Every year, every birthday card she'd written, every attempt to earn his approval, it had been wasted. He hadn't loved her. Not really. He had only tolerated her until she became profitable. They stood in silence for a few more moments, then turned and left, whispering about lawyers and percentages as they walked out of the room. The door clicked shut. Inside her coffin, Isabella fought the tears threatening to fall. Her chest heaved with silent sobs. This was worse than betrayal. It was erasure. She was never a daughter. She was a transaction. But even now she held on to one tiny flame of hope, her mother, the woman who had left when she was only 6. The woman she had grown up believing had abandoned her without a second thought. But what if that wasn't the whole truth? What if her mother's silence had a reason? Tomorrow would bring that answer. And maybe just maybe redemption. Because not all masks hide cruelty. Some hide heartbreak, and Isabella was about to uncover which one her mother wore. The morning sun barely crept through the thick curtains when the mansion doors creaked open once again. It was the 4th day of mourning, and today she came. Isabella lay still, her breathing shallow, her senses heightened beneath the thin sheet. She knew who it was before she saw her mother. The woman she had spent most of her life resenting. The woman who vanished when she was just 6 years old, never sending a card, never calling, never looking back. At least that's what she had always believed. Linda walked into the room slowly, her figure frail but graceful. She didn't look around at the mansion, the luxury, the chandeliers, or fine art. Her eyes were locked on the simple white coffin in the center of the room, and the daughter she thought she had lost. Her breath caught, her steps faltered. She reached the edge of the casket and gently touched Isabella's cold hand. Her fingers trembled, and then her body did too. "My baby," she whispered, her voice cracking like dry earth under rain. "My little girl." Then her knees gave out. Linda collapsed beside the casket, sobbing uncontrollably. "I'm so sorry, my love. I never wanted to leave you," she cried. "I begged your father to let me see you, but he wouldn't. He promised he'd make you hate me, and he did." Isabella's heart squeezed tightly. Her body didn't move, but her world shifted. Was it true? Had her father lied? Had he poisoned her with bitterness against her own mother? Linda buried her face in her hands. "I missed every birthday, every school play, even your first heartbreak. I wasn't there. I failed you." Her voice cracked. "And now it's too late." Isabella's body wanted to sit up to hold her mother, to say, "I'm here. I forgive you." But she couldn't. Not yet. The truth had to fully unfold. Linda stayed for what felt like hours, whispering apologies, stories, memories. And for the first time since this plan began, Isabella felt something inside her start to heal. It wasn't justice. It wasn't revenge. It was love, real, raw, and broken. Her mother hadn't left her. She had been pushed away. Outside the room, no one would have guessed the reunion that was silently happening between mother and daughter, one sobbing, but both filled with the same pain. And when Linda finally rose, her face streaked with tears, she leaned in and kissed Isabella's forehead. "I hope you're at peace now, my darling." But peace wasn't what Isabella wanted, not yet. She had uncovered the cruelty of a father who only saw her as a bank account, and the truth of a mother who had never stopped loving her. Now she needed to finish what she started, because there were still more lies to unmask, and the next chapter would reveal not just betrayal, but possibly loyalty, and maybe even love. Tomorrow was day 5, and with it would come the people she had trusted to serve her every day, her staff. But would they prove to be any different? She was about to find out. Day 5 came with a heavy silence. No family, no fake friends, just the quiet shuffle of shoes and soft sniffles as the household staff entered the grand hall. These were the people who had seen Isabella at her best and worst: the maids, the cook, the gardener, the butler, and her personal driver, Daniel. Each had served her with loyalty, though none had been part of her bloodline. And unlike the others, they came not for inheritance, but because they truly grieved. Daniel stood slightly apart, his face pale, his hands clenched at his sides. As the others placed flowers and whispered prayers, Daniel remained frozen. When the room emptied, he finally stepped forward. His voice was quiet, trembling. "I'm sorry, Isabella. I should have warned you. I saw what Michael and Rachel were doing. I heard them. I just didn't have the courage." His voice cracked, a tear trailing down his cheek. "I loved you. From the day I met you, I loved you." Under the silk, Isabella's heart raced. This confession wasn't like the others. It wasn't greedy or manipulative. It was real. Sometimes the people we think are the furthest from our hearts are actually the ones who hold us up in silence. True loyalty is quiet, patient, and often invisible until it's needed most. If this story moved you, tell us in the comments. Who is your Daniel in life, the quiet supporter, who's always been there? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more powerful stories of love, truth, and redemption. You never know who might need to hear this today.